Hi there. Today I'm taking a look back at a presentation I did for Animation Days at Ubisoft Montreal back in 2018. It was titled Bringing a Solar System to Life on a Budget, where I took a behind-the-scenes look at some of the production challenges and achievements on Starlink Battle for Atlas. I had the privilege of being part of Starlink from the very beginning and for about 4 years. It was Ubisoft Toronto's first new IP, an action-adventure game with a breakthrough completely different than any other Ubisoft game. Starlink attempted to rekindle the toys-to-life market with an indie game feel. The player linked a modular ship to a controller and swapped parts to engage in dynamic gameplay combat. There was a ton of great animation in the game: cinematics, pilot intros, and gameplay animation. This talk will focus on my team's contribution, the gameplay animation. We set out to enrich the player's gameplay experience and breathe life into the worlds of Atlas. As with any new IP, there were challenges. Here are the 3 big ones that we faced. It was difficult to lock the scope of the content on a game that was still discovering itself. Our budget remained conservative until we hit major milestones. Snowdrop was a new engine to most. Everything had to be built from the ground up. These challenges called for us to be resourceful. I will share 3 strategies that I found useful to successfully meet our mandate and to avoid common production pitfalls. Fail fast, fail early. The 3 R's, and cut the fat. Fail fast, fail early is a well-known strategy that many of you may already have used. This strategy avoids assets from being taken too far too early, working with assets that have technical issues, and wasting time implementing assets that just aren't working. Our fail fast, fail early flowchart ended up looking something like this. We had established clear phases of progression, with reviews at vital stages before going too far with any particular asset. Assets could be sent back a phase if too many concerns were raised. Here is an example of how we took a character from concept to final game asset using this method. Here you'll see an early concept of our main ground unit, the Cyclops. It was described as a deteriorating, unmaintained unit. We had relevant departments called into a room to review several different concept ideas for this character and its artistic vision. We'd all have a chance to call out any technical concerns that we may have and any other relevant feedback. It would then move into the prototype phase. Our rigger David Payne would create a simplified, blocked-out version of the concept. The animation team would animate a basic set to satisfy most of the gameplay design needs. It was an opportunity not only to test the rig and the model, but to explore animation approaches. A basic animation set was done for all 4 archetypes, and these were implemented in-game. The low-poly models made it easy to identify the assets as works in progress. Through the creation of the basic sets, we were able to provide feedback to improve design and functionality, things that affected range of movement and weapon handling. We highlighted some of the things that just weren't working. We called for longer legs to help improve mobility. The head crest was causing clipping issues, and the length of the fingers which just weren't long enough to wrap around the weapon. Here's the updated version of the Cyclops after concept made revisions based on feedback and in-game results. With little concerns over the revised model, our rigger went ahead and rigged the character. The animation team moved forward with a more polished pass of an extended animation set. We were all building on the learnings we identified with the prototype. And here are the final assets in game. The fail fast, fail early approach allowed us to prove out designs sooner by getting assets in game and seeing them in context. It allowed us to create meaningful iterations based on game results and technical needs. This all resulted in less waste, as designs were properly vetted and proven to work. The next strategy was the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. With the mandate of having to populate 7 distinct planets, we decided 3 creatures per planet, 1 major fauna and 2 minor fauna, working out to 21 fauna. And at 48 animations per set, we were looking at over 1,000 keyframed animations. Clearly a lot of work for a small team to handle. The The reduced solution came in narrowing the creatures to 7 distinct archetypes, one for each planet, and retargeting these sets onto the remaining 14 creatures. The remaining animations were derivative. Our reuse solution looks something like this. The animation set on our major lithogoyle on planet 15 went on to be retargeted on the miners found on planet 8 and planet 1. Our recycled solution consisted of taking the retargeted data, scaling the animation based on the fauna size, animating any additional extensions, and injecting personality by customizing some animations wherever we had the opportunity. Here you can see the final lineup of all 21 fauna. It's clear to see just how different the fauna can look while sharing similar skeletal structures. The use of the 3Rs helped us to keep scope manageable. We found ways to reuse data, and this created space for us to polish and add more nuance to the animations. Our final strategy is cut the fat. This strategy helped to identify what was important to our game and to avoid wasting time on unusable assets. Here are 3 ways to cut the fat. Early visibility. Keep things simple on paper. Communicate with departments to gain a clear understanding of the implementation intentions early. Get things in-game as soon as possible to attain in-game feedback. Ask yourself how assets are working to support the gameplay experience. Is there bandwidth across departments to properly implement and realize features? Are there other features that would add more to the experience? The answers to these questions will help in triage. Make cuts as early as possible. This will make room for other features or additional polish. Here is an example of early visibility. This is an animation set for one of our fauna. It was a living document on Perforce that I shared with animators and other departments. A meeting would be held with programmers and designers. With this document, I would share the animation intention for the character. This was an opportunity to sync ideas and keep the set as minimal as possible on paper. The design intention behind the sick crouch animations was to create empathy for the fauna as the planet around them became infected. Although the team was quite fond of these animations, it became apparent that these animations just were taking too long to play out. They were expensive to produce, and they were interfering with the flow of the gameplay. Making the cut when we did saved us 98 animations surrounding the sick crouch animation state, and opened up room to work on a new feature. The fauna attacks. The fauna attacks were fun to create. It made the fauna more interactive, discouraged the player from shooting the fauna, and created emergent moments where the fauna would affect combat situations with other NPCs. Cutting the fat helped gain common objectives by aligning intentions. Less work was wasted either on paper or during early implementation. Cuts help make room for assets that will better enhance the gameplay experience or simply make more time for polish. We were a small team with a lot of work on our plate. Our objectives were met by adhering to our 3 strategies: getting assets in early and making meaningful iterations, keeping scope manageable by using the 3Rs, and by reviewing production priorities regularly. Starlink was a unique opportunity for exploration and creativity, not just in the content of the game, but how we made it. Thanks for watching.